You know, one thing you never take winning a game for granted. I'm sure Washington State thought they would open up at home with a win over Portland State. I'm sure Kansas, with a new coach coming in, thought they'd beat South Dakota State. I'm sure Wyoming, in their second year, thought they'd beat North Dakota. I'm sure Texas Tech thought they'd have an easier time with Sam Houston State. I'm sure Indiana thought it wouldn't come down to 1 point against Southern Illinois. You know, Southern Illinois had close to 400 yards offense in the first half. So I don't take any win for granted. But I think we all saw what it was in that, in a lot of ways, this is our first game. You know, this is really our first game in a lot of ways. No disrespect to Mississippi Valley State. But we did what we had to do. We played pretty efficiently. We got to play a lot of players. Saw a lot of new faces out there that I think people will be excited to watch as they develop. So now it's on to Tulsa. You know, I can imagine, you know, if I was at Tulsa, you don't have to look too far in the past. I guess 2008, 2009. They outscored us 100-24 the last two times we've played. I think Rockies last year it was 56-14 in Tulsa. And then Mike's first year it was 44-10. So that's 100-24. They've been to 4 bowl games since 2008. We all know we haven't been to a bowl game. Heck, I mean, they even misspelled my name in the preseason brochure, and then they followed up again in the game notes yesterday. So, I mean, I don't take that real personal. It's been a while since that's happened, but I can understand why they would probably look at us and feel like they got a tremendous chance to get off to 2-0. And the reality is they are good. Their offense returns 10 starters from last year. They averaged 420 yards a game last year. The quarterback's back. The two receivers, number 1 and number 2, both to me look like possible NFL receivers. One of them 6'4". The other one's real good friends with Damian Gamblin, and Damian Gamblin says the kid's a heck of a player, number 2. They've got 2 running backs back that have played a lot. One a true freshman last year from Tulsa, has some great quickness, and then 24 is a hard-nosed downhill runner. So you have 10 starters back on offense. You put up 620 yards against FAU in the first game. So we'll find out. You know, we get to it now. The quarterback threw for 424 yards, I think. They're a fast up-tempo. It's the Baylor scheme. A lot of tie-ins with Baylor. Obviously, the head coach came from Baylor. The co-defensive coordinator came from Baylor. The special teams coach came from Baylor. Then on defense, Bill Young's the defensive coordinator. I've known Bill a long time. When I was at Notre Dame, he was at USC. In fact, in '98, we went out there with a $14 million BCS bowl game on the line. The week before, on the very last play of the game, our starting quarterback, Jarius Jackson, hurt his knee against LSU. We won the game. We went out to USC with $14 million on the table. And we ended up losing. I think it was 10-0. I think it was 10-0. They beat us. And, you know, we played a couple young quarterbacks that hadn't played before, and that was an opportunity that we certainly missed on. But he's a good coach. He was at Oklahoma State. I had a chance to do some of his games at Oklahoma State when I was at ESPN. Really a good coach. So I can understand why there's probably not a lot of respect for us on their end. I'm sure they're kind of envisioning how many points they can put up and how many yards they can put up. And I can see why they do that. They're talented, and we've struggled against these kind of offenses. But it is an opportunity for us. You know, I mentioned a lot of those teams that maybe thought they were going to win that didn't. I think when you watch college football, the reality is there's probably, 30 teams or 35 teams that are really good. Then there's a bunch of teams that are kind of in there, somewhat the same. I think one thing we've done is at least put ourselves in that position of there's a lot of teams that are somewhat the same that have a chance to win. So that's a long way from 3-37, and that's a long way from averaging about 30 points a game differential on the losses. So we've at least put ourselves in that position that we have a chance to win. And that's what's exciting. So that's what I take from last Saturday. You know, I understand completely how the things that happened. That's why I don't take that win for granted. But I also know for us it's like our first game because of the talent that we're going to play against and also the scheme we're going to play against. Other than that, man, you guys have some questions?
How do you see your quarterback situation going into this?
Ours? I think Lamar, I think Austin, I think the expectations were so high for Austin, from Austin himself and from us. I thought he pressed a little bit. I really do. I mean, he was so frustrated by the way he played. So certainly the gap hasn't widened in any way. But Lamar just, Lamar was pretty good. Again, it doesn't matter now, but, if we would have run more triple, if we would have done some more things, we could have really highlighted Lamar in that pass game. So I feel good that both of them played. I feel good that both of them played. Lamar pretty good, Austin okay, but as far as the status, nothing's changed.
What's the status of Terrion?
Terrion ran today. We'll know more tomorrow after he comes off today to see how he handles it. I would think probably Arizona State. There's a chance this week, but I think it's probably a slim chance.
Coach, what comes from a game like this, a win like this? Did your program need a win like this in some way, shape, or form?
3-37, 40 games before I came here, right? Yeah. What are we now, 12-26? Yes, we need every win. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I mean, let's not, again, using the example I made of those 4 teams that probably thought they were going to win, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Every game we win here is big. That's where we are. The good news is, I think we got a chance to go out there and have a chance to win every week. So we're better, and we'll find out how much better. But yeah, I mean, huge. I mean, to play the first game, win 66-0, play every kid on your team, a bunch of smiling faces in the locker room, nobody got hurt. Couldn't have drew it up any better. But that was over the moment I walked in that locker room after the game. I mean, we all saw what it was. So we're mature enough, we're smart enough, just move on and see if that helps us this week.
Coach, even though it was an opponent like Mississippi Valley State, your defense still didn't allow any points. So you feel encouraged going forward with that? Because they didn't have any laps and stuff like that. Yeah,
I think we executed. I remember playing Southern my first game here, which there's a lot of similarities. We gave up a couple huge plays against Southern. Even though we created some plays, we showed some vulnerability right off the bat. I'd like to think we're better. I think we're better, but this week we will truly find out. This offensive team will rank with most or any offensive team we play the rest of the year. And I'm not saying that because that's who we're playing this week. I think they are really talented and really good. That cupboard was not bare. That cupboard was not bare at Tulsa.
Coach, when you have a team like this, do you do a little less no huddle yourself to just try to slow that pace down?
I think we'll kind of keep that to ourselves, but that's definitely been discussed. It's definitely been discussed. I mean, you got 2 ways to go. You can either go out there and try to match them and say, let's go, let it rip. Or you can say, here's our style. We're going to try to keep the ball away from you. The reality is, though, these kind of teams score so fast, the time of possession is not as big a deal as it was when you have 2 teams that are kind of similar. They score so fast anyhow. You go back and look at the FAU game. I mean, they threw 4 or 5 deep balls. I mean, it's one play. And that's what they are. They're going to throw the ball down the field. Whether they're on their own 1-yard line or they take over the ball at midfield, there's home runs. They throw the ball down the field. So in the end, I don't know that it's going to make that much difference, but it's certainly something we're talking about right now.
Coach, during the post-game presser, you had mentioned this game being one of the biggest in a long time. How come?
Because we have a chance to win, and we have a 2-game winning streak. We've won our last 2 games at home. I think if you look at our schedule, I think we'll all probably look back on this game when this season's over and say it was a pivotal game. You know, I don't back away from that. I've known that since I looked at our schedule, that I knew this would be a big football game.
Coach, with that saying, Coach, you're saying field position is not going to be a big thing. A lot of big plays. So are we going for it on fourth down?
Well, I didn't say field position wasn't going to be big. What I said was tempo of the game, time of possession. Sometimes you look back, time of possession. Sometimes the Baylors of the world have the lowest number time of possession, but they score the most points in college football. So just make sure you got what I said correctly. I didn't say field position. I said time of possession is not a key statistic in who wins and loses against these kind of offenses. In some games it is. You know, if we were playing Air Force a couple years ago, or maybe against Wyoming, who lines up and runs the ball a little bit more, time of possession is a key element of the game. But time of possession is not a factor. Field position is huge. Field position is huge. Will we go for it on fourth down? I'm not afraid to. Particularly the flow of the game, if it looks like they're going to score anyway, right? You're probably thinking the same thing, you know. So it all depends on the flow of the game, but I'm not bashful.
How did Dakota look in his first game back?
Okay. I don't think he played great. Didn't look quite as sudden as he's looked, but I think that was to be expected. We just want to have a good plan moving forward, get a strong foundation built under him, keep the pitch count, and play a little more this week. Played okay.
What do you make out of learning how to win and expecting to win? The last two times off the field, they've won. As you talk about 12 wins and building a program, learning how to win and expecting to win as far as confidence?
I think, too, if we go back, other than Colorado State last year up there where we fumbled the two kickoffs, if we go back to Utah State the week before, it was, 24-17 or a touchdown game. The week before, it was Boise out here. You go back, we've had a chance to win. I mean, if you take Arizona State out of the mix last year and you take Colorado State out, we've had the ability, you know, the chance to win the games. There's no question the more you win, the more addictive it becomes. If it's not, you're in the wrong business. It is truly like a drug. It's truly like a drug. When you win, all you want to do is move on to the next one and win another one. That's how I was Saturday immediately the game was over. And I think our team senses the same thing. There's such a dramatic difference between winning and losing. And to say that was the case when I first got here, absolutely not. Half the battle is creating the culture of if we don't win, it's going to be hell. And if we win, it's going to be unbelievably good. I truly believe we're at that point. It is very important to us. It's very important to our players. So I'm not sure I answered that question other than it feels so good to win because we have so much invested. And it feels absolutely awful to lose because we have so much invested. That's what this whole thing's about. And you look at these games, it is not perfect. It's not pretty. I may be old-fashioned, but it still comes down to the will to win. It truly comes down to the will to win. And you develop that. You know, your culture is formed by your behavior. You can have all the fourth quarter slogans, all the compete slogans. Our culture has been doing things right for a long time now, and tremendous work put into it. So hopefully we know how to win. You know, the exact thing of knowing how to win, there's so many plays at the end of the game that impact it. It's hard to get it down to, okay, we know how to win. We're going to do absolutely this in this situation. It's not that. It's just refuse to lose, just flat refuse to lose. I don't care what happens, we refuse to lose this game because we have worked so hard that I refuse to lose. So I think we have that. Now, every situation is going to change, every game is going to change, but I promise you, this team wants to win. This team wants to win.
Coach, can you talk about your offensive line and how they did with some of the changes?
Hard to tell. We'll play much better. Their nose guard 99 has been a 3-year starter. Number 8, their 3 techniques, a good player. Number 56, the defensive end, is a bigger, stronger guy, played 4 years. 98 got hurt a little bit. He's a good player, but 90, the backup we recruited here, a kid named Frankie Davis, will play a much higher level of player. But we did pretty good. We did pretty good. You know, Fanua, Tavita got to play 66 snaps in the game. All the snaps were good. He got challenged some. You know, they had a guy in there that was coming off the ball a little bit. He had to block back. We ran a lot of powers. Did pretty good. Did pretty good. Reno, Aaron Jenkins is a guy, I don't even look like him as a freshman now. Aaron Jenkins is a good player, the right tackle, 55. Reno's a good player. Oldenkamp did some good things. Mahina did some good things. Chris Lewis came in. He's pretty talented. Ziltz is pretty talented. Chestnut's 2 big runs. Ziltz had one time on the power, came around and blocked the guy. The second time came around and continued and got a block downfield. Ziltz did some good things. Darian Allen looked okay in there. Pretty good. Pretty good first test. We'll know more. We'll know more this week.
How much of the offense did we see last week, and how much more do you think we'll see this week?
We kind of are what we are. If anything, there's subtle changes that you probably won't notice. Probably formation-wise, we have a whole bank of things we do depending on how they line up and how they play us. So we didn't do much. We kept it simple. You know, we ran one back power up in there probably 15 times, just a true old double down, you know, gap block, pull the backside guard, run power up in there. We probably did that 15 times in a game. We did highlight a little bit more what we call the RPOs, the run pass option, where it's a run, but the quarterback comes out of it and the receiver comes out of it based on how they play their perimeter coverage. You saw us throw the ball out on the RPOs more in this game, something we've worked on a lot. We didn't throw the ball down the field much. Just got to the point, it just wasn't, I just didn't want to do that. But we kind of are what we are, but there's a lot more in the bank to what we can do.
Coach, we kind of talked about last year a lot about giving up the big play.
Yeah.
And it looks like Tulsa is the team that can deliver that.
Yes.
Is this just a really good test to see how far you guys have come in that department?
Huge test. Huge test. Getting guys on the right guys. I don't mean lining up, not making a mistake in alignment. I mean matching up certain players on certain players to give them a chance. Just start with number 1, their big receiver. He's probably close to 6'5", and goes up and catches the deep ball really well. He had 2 or 3 of them against FAU, perfectly covered. Number 2, as I mentioned, is really explosive, really strong. He caught a big one down the seam. It's a big test. This reminds me, these receivers remind me of Fresno's receivers in this league. And that's a pretty good statement. You know, Fresno has the big, tall, talented receivers. I look at Tulsa the same way. And their quarterback is good. He can throw the ball. You know, his dad's a high school coach. He's played a lot of football. He's accurate. It's a big test. I mean, this is every bit as good as any offense. I don't want to say any offense, but as good as most offenses we're going to play all season.
Coach, they scored 47, but they gave up 44.
Yeah.
What do you see that you can exploit?
They've struggled on defense. Their statistics aren't a whole lot different than ours were last year. In a lot of ways, they're similar. They moved the ball, scored a lot of points. I think they were 4th in the AAC in offense, way down the list on defense. It's 2 similar teams. It really is. It's 2 similar teams in a lot of ways. They believe in their system. We believe in our system. That's why I said it was a big game. I think this is a huge game. So, yeah, we're similar in a lot of ways. We really are. And they're hungry. You know they're hungry. I just hope we're more hungry.
Coach, didn't penalties maybe go into this? Because I happen to notice Florida Atlantic had the ball 37 minutes to 23 for Tulsa, but they had 13 penalties for 130 yards. Tulsa only had 26 yards.
Great point. Great point. And if you look at the game, first possession in overtime, FAU has the ball they get the ball in overtime, they take it down to the 1-yard line. It's 2nd and 1 from the 1. They're going in to score a touchdown their first possession. They get called for an illegal formation, too many men in the backfield. So all of a sudden it makes it 2nd and 6. They have kind of a negative play. They have to throw it on 3rd down, then they have to kick the field goal. But they had it 2nd and 1 on the 1 to go in to score their touchdown the first possession of overtime. There were a lot of penalties in the game. It was a 4.5-hour game. It was hot as heck. Up-tempo offense. It turned a little ragged. There were a lot of penalties in the game. It definitely affected FAU.
Tulsa actually had 86 plays in 23 minutes. That's pretty incredible.
It's pretty fast. You know, you go back and look at Baylor last year, they snapped the ball every 18 seconds. They were the #1 fastest tempo in all of college football. So we know 18 seconds is coming.
So are you going to be able to rotate our guys in there fast enough, fresh bodies?
That's what's hard with no huddle is you really can't substitute unless they substitute. If they substitute, you will see the referee go like this, which means you now have time on defense to match their substitution. And that extra official we have this year will stand over that ball until the official says time to go, which means you've had enough time to substitute and go out and substitute. But if they don't do this and they keep their 11 players on the field, they can go as fast as they want to go. And that's really become college football because you can't substitute dime package in there. If it's third down and you put dime in there to play pass, if they make the first down, they're up there roaring again. Now you're stuck with dime on the field. That's what has made college football so difficult. So if they keep the same 11, you're not substituting. Unless that ball's right there on your hash, right in front of your bench, and you roll the dice a little bit. But if that ball's on the other hash or at one end of the field or the other, no chance. No chance. The good part is we're tempo. So we've actually practiced against this stuff. And we have a chance to maybe execute better than we certainly did last year. The New Mexico State game was an embarrassment for us down there, quite honestly, the way we executed on defense against tempo. It taught all of us, hopefully, a valuable lesson.
Coach, even so, like when guys get gassed, how much does it help now that you have all that depth on defense now? It's different.
All that depth?
You know, it's just different than last year. You know, it seems like it.
No, I agree with you. What we're able to do, Van, is practice more. Anybody that's watched us practice, it's starting to look like the way I'm used to practicing because we do have some depth. And developing depth in practice means you can play more players in the game, and we are at that point. We are equipped because when you go out there and practice with tempo, you can't practice very long because you just gas them, particularly if there's no backups. So we've been able to practice. We have no excuses going into this game about tempo. We are prepared to do it. It's just, can we do it?
Anything else?
All right, man. Gotta love it.